Welcome to Quiet Night Chronicles, where we explore the gentle mysteries of our world together. Tonight, we embark on a peaceful journey to one of history's most enchanting puzzles, the legendary Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Picture yourself transported back through time to an ancient world where gardens might have cascaded like green waterfalls from terraced heights, with the soft sound of flowing water mingled with rustling leaves under starlit skies. Imagine standing at the edge of ancient Babylon, where the mighty Euphrates River winds its way through fertile plains like a silver ribbon in moonlight. Here, along these life-giving waters, one of civilization's greatest mysteries may have once bloomed. The air would have been warm and fragrant, carrying the scent of date palms and flowering vines across the ancient city's walls. The story begins with whispered legends of gardens that seem to hang suspended between earth and sky. Ancient Greek writers described these wonders with the reverence of those who had glimpsed something beyond ordinary beauty. They spoke of terraced gardens rising 75 feet into the air, creating a green mountain of living splendor that could be seen from great distances across the Mesopotamian plain. Picture these gardens as the Greeks imagined them, tier upon tier of carefully tended plants, creating a living stairway to the heavens. Each level would have been a world unto itself, with different varieties of trees and flowers creating a tapestry of colors that changed with the seasons. The very idea seems to float between dream and reality, much like the peaceful transition between waking and sleep. Strabo, the ancient Greek geographer, painted word pictures that still capture our imagination today. He described vaulted terraces resting upon cube-shaped pillars, each one strong enough to support the weight of soil and the largest trees. These pillars rose like gentle giants, creating cool shadows beneath, while supporting paradise above, forming architectural poetry written in stone and green, growing things. Envision walking beneath these magnificent arches, where the temperature would have been pleasantly cool, even on the warmest days. The massive pillars would have created a sense of peaceful shelter, while above the sound of water trickling through irrigation channels would have provided a constant, soothing melody. Every surface would have been alive with the gentle movements of leaves and the soft rustle of growing things. The irrigation systems that would have made such gardens possible were marvels of ancient engineering, as ingenious as they were essential. Imagine the gentle mechanics of shut-offs, simple but elegant lever systems that lifted water from the river below. These wooden arms would have moved in steady, rhythmic motions throughout the day, like giant water birds, dipping and rising along the riverbank in endless, meditative cycles. Picture skilled gardeners operating these water lifts with the same peaceful rhythm their ancestors had used for generations. The shaduf's counterweight would balance perfectly, making the work seem almost effortless as buckets of cool river water were lifted and poured into carefully constructed channels. This water would then flow gently through a network of clay pipes and stone channels, carrying life to every corner of the gardens. The Euphrates River itself was the heart of this entire system, flowing past Babylon with the same steady persistence it maintains today. Imagine sitting beside its ancient banks, listening to the eternal song of moving water, while date palms cast long shadows across the fertile soil. The river's seasonal floods would have deposited rich silt across the valley, creating earth so fertile that gardens seem to spring forth with minimal encouragement. Think of the river as a great artery, carrying life through the landscape, its waters eventually finding their way through human-made channels into the elevated gardens above. The sound of this flowing water would have been everywhere in ancient Babylon, a constant, gentle reminder of the connection between human ingenuity and natural abundance, creating a soundscape perfect for peaceful contemplation. The plants that grew in ancient Babylonian gardens were themselves small miracles of cultivation and care. Date palms would have formed the backbone of these green spaces, their tall trunks swaying gently in the warm breezes, while their feathery fronds created patterns of moving shadow and light. These trees were not just beautiful, but practical, providing sweet dates that could sustain both body and spirit. Fig trees would have offered their broad leaves as natural umbrellas, creating intimate spaces of shade where one could rest and contemplate. Their fruit would ripen slowly in the warm sun, growing heavy and sweet on branches that seemed to droop with gentle generosity. Pomegranate trees would add splashes of brilliant red to this green tapestry, their fruits like jewels hanging among glossy leaves. Ancient Mesopotamian gardeners possessed knowledge passed down through countless generations, understanding which plants thrive together and how to create microclimates within their cultivated spaces. They knew that certain trees could shelter more delicate flowers, that some plants preferred the morning sun, while others flourished in afternoon shade, creating gardens that were like complex, living symphonies of growth and beauty. These skilled horticulturists would have moved through their gardens with the quiet confidence of those who understood the subtle language of growing things. They could read the slight curl of a leaf that indicated thirst, recognize the healthy sheen that meant a plant was thriving, and know exactly when fruit was perfectly ripe, simply by its color and the way it hung on the branch. Now imagine walking through these theoretical gardens in the gentle light of early morning, when the air would have been cool and fresh, carrying the mingled scents of flowers, herbs, and ripening fruit. Dewdrops would have clung to leaves like tiny crystal ornaments, each one catching and scattering the golden light of sunrise into miniature rainbows that danced with every slight breeze. The sound of your footsteps would have been muffled by soft earth and fallen leaves, while above, birds would have provided a gentle chorus of songs. Bees would have moved from flower to flower in their ancient dance of pollination, their soft humming adding another layer to the garden's peaceful symphony. Every sense would have been gently engaged in this paradise between earth and sky. Yet for all their beauty in our imagination, these legendary gardens present us with one of archaeology's most intriguing puzzles. Despite decades of careful excavation at ancient Babylon, no definitive physical evidence has been uncovered to prove these gardens ever existed. The absence of such evidence creates a mystery as compelling as the original descriptions, inviting us to wonder about the nature of truth and legend. This lack of archaeological confirmation doesn't diminish the power of the story, but rather adds another layer of gentle mystery to contemplate. Perhaps some wonders are meant to exist primarily in the realm of imagination and inspiration, where they can bloom eternally without the constraints of physical decay or the passage of time. The gardens live on in a space beyond archaeology, in the peaceful realm of possibility, Adding to this mystery is the curious absence of any contemporary Babylonian records mentioning these supposedly magnificent gardens. Ancient scribes carefully documented many aspects of their civilization: trade agreements, building projects, agricultural practices, yet they left no tablets describing what would have been their city's greatest achievement. This silence speaks as loudly as any inscription, creating space for contemplation about what we remember and what we forget. Perhaps the gardens were so integrated into daily life that they seemed as natural as the river itself, requiring no special documentation. Or maybe they existed in a different form than the terraced wonder described by later Greek writers, growing from legend into the magnificent vision that captures our imagination today, like a beautiful dream that becomes more vivid with each telling. All our detailed descriptions of these gardens come from Greek and Roman writers who lived centuries after the gardens supposedly flourished. These ancient authors wrote with the wonder of those describing something beyond their own experience, painting pictures in words that seem almost too beautiful to be entirely factual. Yet their descriptions carry a consistency that suggests they were drawing from some shared source of information. Strabo wrote with geographical precision about the garden's measurements and construction, while other writers focused on their beauty and the ingenuity of their irrigation systems. Together, these accounts create a composite picture that feels both dreamlike and surprisingly technical, as if these ancient writers were trying to capture something that existed at the intersection of reality and aspiration. Another layer of gentle mystery surrounds the romantic story often told about the garden's origin. Legend suggests that King Nebuchadnezzar II commissioned these hanging gardens around 600 BC as a gift for his beloved wife, Amytis. She was said to be homesick for the green hills of her native land, and the king wanted to recreate something of that verdant beauty for her in the flat plains of Babylon. This tale of love expressed through landscaping touches something deep in the human heart. The image of a powerful king using his vast resources, not for war or monuments to his own glory, but to ease his wife's longing for home, transforms the gardens from mere architectural achievement into a symbol of devotion. Whether historically accurate or later embellishment, this story adds warmth to the mystery. Picture Queen Amytis walking through these elevated gardens, perhaps in the cool of evening, finding comfort in plants that reminded her of her homeland's hills. The gardens would have been her private world, a place where she could close her eyes and imagine herself back among familiar landscapes, surrounded by the scents and sounds that spoke of home and childhood memories. In this vision, the gardens become more than just a wonder of engineering or horticulture. They become a love letter written in living green, a demonstration that sometimes the greatest gifts are not golden treasures, but carefully cultivated spaces where the heart can find peace. This human dimension of the story continues to resonate across the millennia, touching our own desires for beauty and belonging. Intriguingly, some modern scholars have proposed that the famous hanging gardens might not have been in Babylon at all, but rather in the Assyrian city of Nineveh, hundreds of miles to the north. This theory suggests that later writers may have confused or conflated the two ancient cities, attributing Nineveh's gardens to the more famous Babylon in their accounts. Archaeological evidence at Nineveh reveals sophisticated water management systems, that could have supported elaborate elevated gardens. King Sennacherib of Assyria documented his own garden projects there, describing aqueducts and botanical collections that sound remarkably similar to the hanging gardens of legend. Perhaps the truth lies sleeping beneath Nineveh's ancient mounds, waiting patiently for discovery. This possibility adds yet another gentle layer to our mystery, suggesting that great wonders might sometimes wander in historical memory, finding new homes in our collective imagination. Whether in Babylon or Nineveh, the essential truth of the gardens that ancient peoples dreamed of and perhaps created paradises remains beautifully intact, like a flower that blooms regardless of which soil nurtured its roots. The question of location doesn't diminish the wonder, but rather expands it, reminding us that the ancient world was full of remarkable achievements that we're still working to understand. Each archaeological discovery brings us closer to these ancient gardeners and their dreams, whether those dreams were realized in Babylon, Nineveh, or somewhere else entirely. Even if the physical gardens prove elusive, their cultural impact has been profound and lasting. For over 2 millennia, the idea of the hanging gardens has inspired artists, writers, and dreamers. Renaissance painters depicted them in their visions of paradise, while modern landscape architects continue to draw inspiration from their supposed design, creating contemporary spaces that echo their terraced beauty. The gardens represent humanity's eternal desire to create paradise on earth, to transform the ordinary world into something extraordinary through careful attention and loving cultivation. This aspiration transcends any particular time or place, speaking to the universal human impulse to surround ourselves with beauty and to coax life from apparently barren ground. In literature and art, the gardens have become symbols of lost golden ages and vanished splendor, representing not just ancient achievement, but also the poignant recognition that all earthly beauty is temporary. Yet in their legendary status, they have achieved a kind of immortality that no physical garden could match, blooming eternally in the realm of imagination. Modern botanical gardens often include sections inspired by the legendary hanging gardens, creating terraced landscapes where visitors can experience something of what those ancient wonders might have felt like. These contemporary interpretations help keep the dream alive, allowing new generations to walk through spaces that echo with ancient aspirations and timeless beauty. Perhaps the true legacy of Babylon's secret gardens lies not in their historical reality, but in their continuing ability to inspire wonder and peaceful contemplation. They remind us that human beings have always sought to create beauty, to work with nature rather than against it, and to build spaces where the soul can find rest and refreshment. The gardens invite us to imagine what we might create in our own time and place, not necessarily grand terraced wonders, but whatever small paradises we can cultivate with patience, love, and attention to the needs of growing things. Every windowsill herb garden, every carefully tended backyard, every community green space carries something of the spirit that may have once flourished in ancient Babylon. As we reflect on these mysterious gardens, we can find peace in the knowledge that beauty and wonder have always been part of the human story. Whether the hanging gardens of Babylon existed exactly as described, their legend continues to bloom in our collective imagination, offering the same gifts they supposedly offered to Queen Amytis. a green refuge for homesick hearts and weary spirits. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, you might imagine yourself walking through those legendary terraces, listening to the gentle sound of water flowing through ancient channels, breathing air perfumed with flowers that may have bloomed only in dreams. In that peaceful space between waking and sleeping, the gardens are as real as they need to be, a sanctuary of beauty and wonder that exists beyond the reach of time. The mystery of these secret gardens continues to unfold with each new archaeological discovery and each fresh interpretation of ancient texts. Whether they stood in Babylon or Nineveh, whether they matched their descriptions or exceeded them, they remain one of history's most enchanting puzzles. A reminder that some questions are as beautiful as their answers, and some wonders are most perfect when they exist in the gentle realm between fact and dream. If you found this journey through ancient mysteries peaceful, consider subscribing to Quiet Night Chronicles for more restful explorations of history's gentle wonders. Until next time, sleep well, and may your own dreams bloom with gardens as beautiful as those that may have once graced the ancient world.